So welcome to our mini webinar on Google Slides. You have the option to leave your camera on or shut your camera off, completely up to you. You can stay muted or you can keep it open, that's fine too. If you have questions, drop them in the chat or just unmute and ask. I'm Lori Guion. I'm the Assistant Coordinator for Model Schools at Warren, Saratoga, Washington, Hamilton, Essex, BOCES, which really just means I do professional learning. So I'm here with you to kind of just give you some quick overview of Google Slides. It's pretty quick to do in a half an hour or so. So we'll get through what we can. If you have any questions, I can stay on and help you out and answer any questions that you have as far as how to use Google Slides. In the chat, if you can drop in whether you think yourself of when you think of Google Slides, are you a complete beginner, you've dabbled a little bit, or you could probably teach this. So throw that in the chat for me so I kind of know where we are with the people that are here right now. Got some beginners coming in. Got some beginners. Good. You're in the right class for beginners. There we go. Now it's working. Okay. Dabbled a bit. Good. Good. Fun. Awesome. Great. Beginner. We have some intermediates. Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to pull up Google Slides. Now I can't talk even. We're going to pull up Google Slides, and I'm going to show you a few things. I have a presentation I actually used recently with NiceGate. I'm just going to go through that with you. That was a full hour. This is just a quick half hour. So we'll take a look at some different aspects of things that kind of like are the key highlights to kind of get you started in slides. And I'll show you some of my favorite tips and tricks as well. For when I built them. So let me share my, let's not do that. Let's share my window. Now I can see you. Oh, it wants me to pull it out. Pull this one out. Now we'll share our window. Yeah, we got some more people coming too. So let me hit them in here. Okay. So do you see a Google Slides window? Yes? Okay, good. All right, when I have to peek back and forth to see that you're all nodding and stuff. Okay, good. So we're going to talk a little bit about Google Slides and some best practices with it. Most of you said you're somewhat of a beginner. Some of you are a little bit more intermediate. But let's talk about some of the basics with Google Slides. When you build Google Slides, you have your basic text, you have backgrounds, you can add images, and then there are some advanced features. Let's talk first about text. And when we talk about text, and I'm going to actually hit escape here, we're going to play around with this. And I want to show you different ways that you can add text to Google Slides. Do you all know how to get to Google Slides in the first place? Give me a head nod if you do. Okay, good. We're good on that one. All right. So once you're in Google Slides and you're looking to create them, when you first open a slide, so I'm just going to actually add a blank slide in between these two. When you first open a slide deck, you're just going to get a basic format with a blank background. Okay, this one, because I'm using one that already had kind of a background, you'll notice it has kind of that gray undertone. And we'll talk about that when we talk about backgrounds next. When I click within the box, so if I click without, here's my toolbar up here. But when I click within the box, it completely changes and it gives me more options. If you've ever used Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, a lot of these are going to seem very similar to you with that. If you use Google Docs, it's going to look extremely similar to what you see in slides. So as soon as I tapped in the box, I've got all of these different options that I can do. So I'm going to start with font. And the font actually never says the word font. It always says the font that is currently being used. It defaults to Arial, but as you use different fonts, different ones come up. When I click on it, you'll see I have tons and tons of font choices. If you don't have that many choices, you just have to click at the very top here where it says More Fonts, and then all of the different fonts that are available to you from Google Slides are going to show up. If you like one, you put a check next to it, and then it's going to show up on your list. You can even sort what type of script you want, what type of font you want. Maybe you want something that's more of a display, and it'll give you different choices. You hit OK, and then those choices stay right up on here in this list for you. All right, so I'm going to choose just a fun font. I'll do this. I just added one that was an A one. Where did I put it? This one, this fat face one. We'll start with that. And hello, this is my new slide. Okay, so just so I have some text on here to kind of play around with you. You'll see at the top, it stays with the name of this one. Next to it, it shows the font size. If I want the font to be bigger, I'm going to highlight it and I'm going to change the font to be bigger. All right. Or I can, obviously that'd be way too big. I can make it smaller. And you can choose what size you want it to be. If it goes outside the text lines, I like to drag those text lines a little bit so I know that I have it. So I'll grab the edge and I'll pull down and that will move it where I need it to be. Okay. Once I have the font and I have the size, I can also change it to bold, italic, underline, and I can change the text color. So I'm going to highlight it again, and you can see I can change the text color to whatever I'd like it to be based on whatever I'm looking to do. And you will see, you'll get all the basic colors, and then there'll be custom colors based on if you grabbed a template, the ones that come with the template. That's why you see some different ones down there. I can also highlight the words. So if I wanted to highlight, I click the highlight color, and I can change the background, and that's just going to highlight the actual words, not the whole box, just the words. If I don't want that, I highlight it again, and I click transparent at the top. I can change the way it sets within the box by changing the alignment to either centered or right justified, left justified. I can move it to the top of the box or to the bottom of the box, depending on what I would like it to do. Okay. Now, if I wanted to highlight the whole box, so I wanted the color behind all of it, not just the words, I'm staying on the same toolbar, but I'm going to go over to the fill color. It looks like a paint can. And I'm going to pick a color. So maybe I wanted to stick with that yellow. I can make the whole box be yellow. So you see how that looks. I can also put a border around any of the box, any of my text boxes. So I click on the border weight. I choose how thick I want it. And then I can check what color I want it to be. Okay. There, I've made a text box. I don't like this being centered in the bottom of the box. I want it centered in the center. Okay, I've made a box. Now let's say I'm working on this and I want something, but I want it in a shape. So I want to have something other than just my rectangle. Maybe I want a circle on the page. So I can click right here within this font one, and here's where I can grab another text box. But as I go along, I have the shape tool. When I click on that, I'm going to get all of these different shapes as an option. All right, so I mentioned a circle, so I'll stick with that. And then I get this little plus that when I click and drag out, it will create a circle for me. I can change the color, so I'll stick maybe to that purple. And then I can type right in the box. It does not change the shape of the words. The words will still go straight across. Whatever I want to type in it will go right in the center of that box. Again, I can change it to be centered. I can change the font. Maybe I want it to be that bright yellow. I can change the size. That would be too big. Go even smaller. There we go. And I can change the font type. Okay. I can put a border around my shapes too by clicking the border tool and then pick the border color. I did a pink before, so I'll stick to a pink now. And now I've got a circle. I've got my font into a different shape. I can do it anywhere I want with that. Any questions on font? You can either uncheck your mic or you can throw it in the chat. We're all shaking our head. We're good? All right. Perfect. Okay. Now let's say I don't want this slide because I don't want this in my presentation. I click, once I have this slide highlighted, I click delete and it's gone. Okay. So now we're moving on to, we'll get to that one in a minute. We're going to talk about backgrounds. So let's say I want to keep that slide that I created. So I'm going to stick with this, but I don't like this plain background. Up at the top here, I have a backgrounds button. Now, if I'm inside the text box, it's not going to show up. So if you don't see the button, click on the background and then that background button will come up. All right. Hit admit. I'm going to do a quick attendance here just so I capture who's here. There we go. Okay. So on the background, I have several options. I can change the color, so both in gradient and in solid. So let's say I wanted a gradient pink. You'll see how that has some slide to it. If I make this a little bit smaller so you can see more of the background, I'll do that and do this with this one too. Just so actually, I'll just delete that out so you can see the background. Okay, so I can change the color there. I can also choose an image by clicking the choose image. I can upload from my camera roll. So let's say I had something that I already had on my desktop that I wanted to use. So maybe I wanted to use this as my background. All right, so I'm going to hit done on this to get rid of that. Now I have this as my background, and then I can add text on top of it. Okay, if I don't like that background, I can choose a different image. I don't have to do it from an upload. I can do it by an actual URL, which is a picture URL, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. I can take a photo if I had some. I can use my Google Drive and look at the pictures I have in my Google Drive, or I can do an image search right in here. So maybe I was doing something on turtles. I can grab some turtles, hit insert, hit done, and then it's going to take a moment, but it will load that picture in. There it goes. So now I have this picture of turtles as my background. I can still add my text box, whatever I want on top of it. I can still fill that text box however I want to do that. Whatever I want to be on it will still be there, but I always have the option to change the background. Okay, so I use the images. I use the by camera or upload. You have all these different options. I want to show you a quick advanced one. If I'm in the gradient here, you'll see at the bottom there's a custom. If I click this little plus, I can change the way it looks. So right now I have this gray on gray, but I can change that. Maybe I want that to be a blue. And then instead of radial, maybe I want it to be more linear. And I can change the angles and see how you see it in the box, how it changes different colors. I can even add another gradient color. So maybe I want a green or maybe a purple. And then when I hit OK, you're going to see that it changes. So it has this different gradient within my image. So you can really add some texture to the background of your slides and still just add your shapes or whatever on top of it. So if I've got something like that, maybe I want to stick with purple now, and off I'll go with whatever I'm going to do. Okay. Any questions on backgrounds? We're all good. Awesome. All right, drop them in if you find you have any. Another little quick tip while I was here I wanted to show you is you might have noticed in the bottom right of my screen, I have this Explore button. You have this on slides, docs, sheets. It's on all of them. And it's Google's way to say, hey, you know what? You can search right within to kind of grab something. So if I had a blank slide up, so if I click on this and I add a blank slide, it's going to give me options for slide outlines. And I can click on any of them and use any one I want. Okay, they have all these different options for me. But if I'm on a slide and I've already kind of edited, it's not going to give me new choices, but I can search for things and it gives me a choice for the web. So maybe while I'm here, I want to get a picture of an elephant. All right, so it's going to go out. It's going to give me information if I was doing like research. But if I click on images, I can grab any of these images and I can grab and drop them right in. I hit insert and it's going to drop that picture right in. Okay, and you can do this if you were doing a background as well, but you could do something like that with your images. So you always have this Explore button that's going to give you other options as you're creating your slides. All right. So we did text, we showed Explore, we did a quick background. Let's talk more about those images. So I'm going to come back up to this slide that I was playing with. Now I mentioned you can use the Explore button to get images, but you also have an image icon right on your main toolbar. If I click on Insert Image, I can upload from my computer. So let's say I had something, I hope I have something I could use. Sure, we'll just take my business card here. You can drop that in, you can shrink it down to whatever you'd like, put it wherever you want within. You can add borders, you can recolor it, anything I want. I can animate it, anything I want to do with that. I can also search the web. It's going to open that toolbar right up to a Google search. And I'm going to stick with elephant because I have it on the brain. But I'm going to add PNG or clip art because I want it to have a background or no background on it. And I'm going to click on that and hit insert. And then I've got this great picture that doesn't have a white background on it. You could also use the word transparent to find those as well. You can also pull, like I said, from your Drive, from your Google Photos, from a URL, or even you can take a picture if you want right off the bat. I want to show you a little bit with the URL. If I go out to Google Images, oh, you probably can't see that because I have the, hang on. I'm going to switch how I'm presenting so you can see my image search. Okay. All right, you all can see my screen? Okay. So I'm going to Google Images in a basic Google search, and I'm going to put in, I have elephants on the brain. They're my favorite animal, so why not? I've got all these elephants here, but I want something with motion. I want a GIF or an animated photo, whatever you want to call them. So I'm going to click over here where it says Tools, and I'm going to click where it says Type. When I click on Type, I can click down to GIF. And what it's going to show me are things that have movement. So if I click on it, you're going to see the little guy kind of dancing there. All right. And I could choose any one of these pictures based on whatever I'm looking to do for my slide. So let's say I really like this one. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to grab the image address, not the link address, the image address. When I click on that and come back into my slides and I click on that image, I'm going to paste it by URL. I'm going to right click that image in there and click Insert. And then it's going to take a moment to load, but once it does, I've got my picture with motion right on there. All right, and you can make this big. You can use this as a background too. You can do the same process where you can have motion in the background of your slide, or you can just put this in the way we have it here. All right, now I mentioned you can recolor images too, so I'm going to take out that GIF because I know it gets a little distracting. Let's say I want this elephant, but I want him to be a different color. If you click up at the top where it says Format Options, I can choose down to recolor, and I can choose to recolor it. So maybe I want it to be a blue elephant, or I want it to be a red elephant, or whatever, you know, I can choose whatever color I want it to be by recoloring it. I can also add shadows to it. I can change the angles of the shadows. I can blur it, whatever I want to do with it. You can really do some fun things with your pictures. You can see now I've got this reflection where you can see at the bottom. So if I leave it up a little bit, it gives a different depth to it. You could do any of those things just by clicking on the image, clicking at Format Options, and then you have choices up here. I can change the position of where it is within the box. I can even change the size. Now let's say I decide I don't want that picture, and I grab another image instead. Maybe I don't want one that has a transparent background. So I'm going to search the web. I'm going to take the word PNG here. And let's say I wanted this picture right here. I want this picture, but maybe I don't want all this extra space around it. If I double click on the image, I get this black box around it. It allows me to drag in the corners like so. And it takes a little finesse the first few times, and I still sometimes I'll make a mistake and I'll have to undo. But once I do that, I hit enter, and now it's cropped all that out. So when I make it bigger or smaller, it stays within that shape. Let's say I love this picture, but I want it to be in a circle. So up at the top, I have this little crop image icon. If I click the down arrow next to it, I can change the shape of the picture. So I'm going to click it into a circle, and then I'm going to drag it in so it looks like a circle. And then I've got my circle that I can then shrink down, do whatever I'd like with it, and kind of add, you know, some different depth or whatever I want with my images. You can do that with any shape you want. You can change it to an equation. You can do it as a call out within arrows, and then whatever shape that you'd like, you can do some fun things with it. So maybe you want it into a heart or something along those lines. So you can have some real fun with your images, kind of edit them up, make them your own when you're dropping them in. Questions on images? We're good? Thumbs up? Oh, you guys are awesome. Okay. All right. So that is some of the basics for images. Let me show you a couple advanced features that I'm going to show you real quick, and then we'll leave the last few minutes for any questions that you have. So I mentioned that you can add transitions. So up in the, I'm still in editing, and I click on animate here. I can choose to animate these pictures by adding what I want them to do. Maybe I want them to fly in, you know, after previous or whatever. I can do different things there. So when I click from here to here in present mode, it's going to change that one. So when I hit play, it's going to slide over. and then it's going to drop that in. So you can add all of those different things in. This is great if you're going to record it like with Screencastify, so you can have that motion as it's going through the video. You certainly can do that within your slides too as you're doing them live. A couple of other really great things here. Did I hear somebody, or I have noise on the street, so are we good? Okay. Okay. I don't know what's going on outside my door. So, I've got that there. So up at the top, just to show you a few other things that are really great advanced features for you. Under File, any page that you have within your Google slide, you can download as an image. So if you want to create a background that you want to use for maybe a manipulative for your students to use, you can download it as an image and then use it as your background, so it locks it in place. Which makes it really easy for some of the interactives you might want to do. Great one for you to do there. If you're in, let's see, Insert, you also have some other options. So you have video built in. We didn't talk about that. So maybe we're doing, Mythbusters. We're doing a video on Mythbusters about elephants or whatever. But let's just say I grab, is spider silk stronger than steel? All right, I click select. That video is going to drop right in. Okay. Now you'll notice immediately I got this whole sidebar. If for some reason that one gets lost in there, you always have it as long as you're highlighted it. So it goes away if I'm not in it. If I'm highlighted in it, I get this format option. I can choose where I want the video to start and stop. I can have it audio play. I can mute the audio totally if I don't want the audio on there. I can change the size of the box, but I can also do that by dragging it, that sort of thing. You can change the position. You can add a shadow to it. But this is really the key here. So if you have a 40-minute video, but you only want to show 2 minutes of it, you can crop it right in Google Slides and have it play for you right in there. You could also have it mute. So that way you want to show it, but you don't want the sound. You can certainly do that on your videos. Take that one back out. While I'm in Insert, you also can insert charts and diagrams just like you would on a Google Doc, and you can use word art. So if I typed in the word elephant, it's going to come up as word art here. And then what I can do is I can change the fill color to be whatever color I'd like it to be. I can change the outline to be whatever color I'd like it to be. I can change the thickness of it so it looks different, whatever I'd like to do with that. You can't change the shape like you can in like some of the other word art. It stays straight like this, but I can change the font. So if I changed it to Chelsea Market, you can see that one. Or I used this one today, so we can change it to that one, whatever you would like it to be on there. So those are two big ones that I use a lot for like extra things on there. As far as some other things, you can add transitions between the slides by clicking on transition. And again, you can change how things slide in and out by changing different animations throughout what you're going to do. All right. So if I hit play again, you see how it changes from one to the next. It adds that slide in, and then it's going to zoom in that elephant. Okay. All right, we have about 5 minutes left. I'm going to open it up for questions. Unmute your microphone if you'd like. I'm going to unshare my screen here. And we'll see what questions you have about Google Slides.
I was wondering if after this is done, you said you're recording, that we'll be able to access it again so we can review it?
Yes, I'm going to put it on the S'more, where I'm guessing you guys grabbed the link to sign up for this. And so that will go on to the S'more newsletter. If you don't get my S'more newsletter, just email me. I'll put that in the chat here. And I will add you to the mailing list so you get it daily. And all of the recordings from any webinar that I've done will be on there, as well as other ones that other people have done within BOCES as well.
Thank you.
Sure. Other questions? We're all good? All right. Well, then, thank you so much for hopping on, and reach out if you ever have any questions. I'm always here to help.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Sure. I'll be the last to leave so I can hit stop recording.